everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So yes, we are back again. So last time around we discussed about digital marketing, the evolution of digital marketing, the history behind it, and of course the importance of digital marketing in today's day and age. Wherein it has become an indispensable source of marketing, so to say. And very importantly, we also saw, how to bring a traffic to the different digital platforms, so to say, and how to engage with the same traffic, right? And then how to convert this traffic into leads, and then finally how to convert these leads into sales, right? And then finally we also saw that it is very important to set digital marketing goals and to finally measure and analyze the same, right? So moving on, today we are going to discuss about another very interesting and very, very important topic, and which is about websites basically. Okay, so moving on, so let me first open this my PPT quickly. Okay, this is already open. Okay, yeah, understanding of websites. Okay, first, what is a website? Now, by definition, a website is a collection of web pages and related content that is identified by a common domain name and published on at least one web server, right? Now, we'll of course discuss what is a domain name and a web server in the following time to come, right? So, moving on. Now, what are domain names and domain extensions? Now, w.stupidskills.in, that is a domain name, so to say, and then we've got domain extensions in the form of .com, .co, .net, .biz, .gov, .in, so these are some of the common domain extensions, and out of which .com is fairly more common domain extensions that is used, but equally important are of course the other domain extension as well, right? So moving on, now what is a web server? Now before knowing what is a web server, it is important to know what is a web page, because there is a correlation between a web page and a web server. Now what is a web page? So a web page is basically a collection of different elements like images, text files, right? And they're all sitting on a computer somewhere in the internet. Now a web server is a kind of a software that runs on the same computer, and so when I basically open a web page, it asks for a request to the web server, and then the web server basically collects the required information and sends it back to the web page, wherein I can see or view what I intended to see initially, right? So as a definition, web server is basically a computer program that distributes web pages as their requisition. Okay, the basic objective of the web server is to store, process, and deliver web pages to the users, right? Now, a few of the very common examples of web servers are Apache and Nginx. Okay, now I would like to show you a live example as to how this web server actually works. Okay, so for that I need my internet. Okay, good, it's already open. Somehow it's already open. I was actually okay. Now when I open stupidskills.in, okay, on my browser, which is Chrome browser. Okay, it's taking some time. Okay, now after opening stupidskills.in on my Chrome browser, if I want to select any of the content here, right, what will happen is that it will send the request to the web server, and the web server is going to accept this request in the form of HTTPE, which is basically a internet protocol. Okay, and HTTP stands for hypertext transfer protocol, and then after collecting the relevant information from the web server. The web server is going to send back the same information to the browser wherein I have opened my page, and then I can accordingly view what I intended to view at the first place, right? Okay. Then moving on. Sorry. Okay. Now, web hosting. What is web hosting? So, web hosting is basically a service that provides storage space to the websites and make it accessible. A few of the very common web hosting companies are GoDaddy, Bluehost, Hostinger, InMotion, and DreamHost. Okay. Now, there are different types of types of hosting services. One is the shared hosting services, in which multiple websites can be hosted on the same hosting platform, so to say. So basically, it's a shared space, and it's quite basic in nature actually, and where you don't have too much of flexibility in terms of updates and software. Then second comes is your virtual dedicated server, wherein it basically divides the server into virtual servers. So instead of physical servers, you basically have the servers in a virtualized environment. Okay. And then you've got something like the hosting service, wherein the user is basically has his own web server and has full control over it. And contrary to a dedicated web server, you also got something like a managed web hosting service, wherein the user has his own server, but does not have full access, full control over it, so to say. And then we also have something that is very common nowadays, which is a cloud hosting service. And today, cloud hosting service has become very common because of its scalability, flexibility, and so why it works well with companies, because you're basically paying for the kind of usage that you're doing. So you're paying as much as you're using. So that's the beauty about cloud services, and that's why a lot of people are using cloud hosting services nowadays, so to say. Right? Then types of websites. So what are the types of websites? Okay, blog website. What is a blog website? So nowadays you'll of course find a lot of bloggers writing very interesting topics. Writing very important blogs on travel. Some write on financial services. Very common we see reviews about food, wining and dining. And these are all managed by individuals or by a very small group of people. So these are all blog websites that you often find is kind of an online journal, you can say, in a way. Okay. Then you've got a corporate website, wherein nowadays you'll often find even small businesses having their own websites. Why? Because it adds credibility to the business, right? Because in the website you're talking about a company, what it stands for, its mission and vision. And it also talks about its own products and services, the contact information, and also in a way, what happens is that it kind of has a recall value, to the people visiting it. So corporate website is very important nowadays. Then portfolio website. So this is basically for individuals who wants to create his own portfolio. Wants to talk about his own, his or her own services that was offered earlier. Kind of an online CV, you can say, wherein they talk about themselves, about the services that they have offered, the kind of work that they've done before, and the kind of work that they can still offer to new customers. So that's a portfolio website. E-commerce website, I don't think e-commerce website is something alien to any of you, because you all would have done some purchase at some point of time, be it on Flipkart or Amazon. So those are all e-commerce websites. But these are all the biggies, right? I'm talking about the Amazon, Flipkart, which are really biggies in the industry, right? But you also have got nowadays lot of smaller companies, lot of startups who have, who have created their own e-commerce websites, and they use platforms like Shopify. So Shopify is a platform wherein you will find a lot of websites, e-commerce websites coming up, and which can be done very easily, on their platform. Then we've got news and media websites, which is also very common. Any news websites or media websites that you find, like the Times of India, Hindustan Times, Indian Express, New York Times. So these are all news websites wherein these are all dynamic websites because it keeps on updating, and also these are heavy websites because it has got a lot of content, a lot of images, videos, and new contents coming up almost every hour, every minute at times. So news and media websites is also something that is very commonly seen. Portal website is something that is used by organizations, and businesses basically use them, wherein the employees can have access to it with their own login and password. And so basically, it is often used for its own employees, and for own internal purposes, these portal websites are often used. Right. Video streaming and OTP, again, this is something very common nowadays that can be found. I'm sure you all have used OTP platform at some point of time, be it Netflix, Hotstar, Amazon Prime. So these are all OTP platforms wherein you subscribe with maybe a monthly or an annual subscription, and you see the content on the same websites. Right. Now, crowdfunding. This is also has become, it's fairly new, but it's something that is widely used nowadays. Now, what is crowdfunding as a concept also? So crowdfunding is basically wherein small amount of money is pulled in by a lot of people for a cause, for a good cause, or for a project, right? And then this is accordingly pulled in and given for the required cause. As an example, I can tell you, there was a crowdfunding that was done for an athlete from the Northeast. She was a gymnast and who had won, I think, the gold medal in the national games, which is nowadays also called the Khelo Games, so to say. And she was a young schoolgirl, of course, and she had to go, she wanted to go abroad for further training, because gymnastic is something, wherein, a lot of new techniques are required, a lot of new skills are required, which you often find only abroad, in all these countries, Russia and US, wherein, gymnastic is played at a totally different level, right? Now, to avail that kind of training, she needed a lot of funds in terms of the traveling cost, staying cost, and the training cost, of course. She didn't have the fund because obviously she didn't come from a very well-to-do family. So what happened was a lot of people did a crowdfunding, and a lot of people pulled in money and then had given that same money to the girl for the training. And I think she's going after COVID. Now that COVID is on, of course, she cannot go. So basically, crowdfunding, the term itself says, it's a crowd, it's a crowd pulling in money from everywhere and making that amount big for the right cause. Community website is something wherein, a lot of people contribute content for the same website. So you'll have a lot of contributors in terms of content. And with the help of all these, contributors, they manage this website basically. Yes, so that goes as far as the website goes. Of course, in the following videos, we have so much more to learn in terms of how to create a website and all those things. So yeah, so again, it was a pleasure, being a part of this session, and I hope that you all also have enjoyed the same. And yes, thank you again, and see you again. Thanks.